And welcome in, folks, to Medicare Made ABCDEasy on the first Tuesday of every month here on your local radio station, WRMN, AM 1410, broadcasting here from Studio 14, serving you, the Fox River Valley area. We've got Danny Gilly here on the line. Danny, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, we're set and ready.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our Medicare Made ABCDEasy on 1410 on Elgin, WRMN radio. First of all, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to call in, if you have a question, anything with Medicare, my number now for the radio show today is 847-931-1410. Again, that's 847-931-1410. Then, of course, our reservation line, if you want to call us direct after the show. If you have any questions at all, want to make an appointment, or if you want to look at the upcoming workshops, that number is 630-320-6906. And, of course, where you can get all the information on Julianne, Eric, and myself, all of our appointments. That would be at ddginsurance.com. Again, that's ddginsurance.com. We don't have any workshops scheduled. We just got through our list of workshops last month. So we're done now until next month, but we will have those on our website as soon as they become available. Okay, so let's talk Medicare. What is Medicare? That's an insurance policy, just very similar to what you have at your employment now. It covers the medical and the prescription, the doctor, and the hospital. That's what Medicare is all about. Okay, let's go through looking at some of the cost coverages for Medicare. So let's take a peek at Part A. Okay, Part A actually is hospital coverage only. So if you go into the hospital and you have room and board, place to sleep, and you have your meals, that's Part A. Okay, Part A, there is a fee for Part A. Give you an example. If you go into the hospital on day 1 through day 60, there's a deductible of $1,736. Again, if you're in day 61 through 90, it goes to a per day charge of $434. And then 91 through 150, it doubles at $868. And this is all for 2026. Now, this is some of the deductibles in Medicare Part A. Now, I want to go back to the beginning where I said the days 1 through 60. So anytime you have that deductible for that 60-day window, you can go in and out of the hospital during that 60-day period, and it's still only the $1,736. Now, if you go back into the hospital beyond that 60-day window, so let's say you went in the hospital in January, and then you go in the hospital in April, well, that deductible starts all over again because it's outside of that 60-day window. So, that would be $1,736. Again, you can go in and out of the hospital during that 60-day window, and it's still only the $1,736 deductible. Again, that would change every 60 days. If you went back into the hospital for a different reason, then that would be the $1,736. Okay, so that's Part A. Then Part A also covers skilled nursing facility care. So Medicare covers the first 20 days. So day 0 through 20, Medicare picks up that charge. If you have day 21 through 100, then that's $217 a day that you are responsible for. 101 days and beyond, there is no coverage because Medicare is not long-term care. That is strictly rehab to get you up and out. To give you an example, you have a knee replacement, you go into the hospital and you have to stay 3 days in the hospital, and then they move you to a rehab center. First 20 days, Medicare picks it up. Then day 21 through 100, it's $217 that you are responsible for. Now, keep in mind, because this is rehab, you have to have the hospital stay first. So, knee replacement, you go in and have some type of surgery and you need to have some rehab. You go to the hospital because you have an ailment. And then they work with you and find out that you need some physical therapy to get you back up at home so you can take care of yourself. Well, again, that's where that rehab comes in. Day 0 to 20 is paid by Medicare. 21 through 100 is $217 per day. So that is your Part A expense. So let's go into what Part B is. Part B is for medical, anything doctor, okay? Anything to deal with the doctor. It could be a hospital, the doctor's office visit, can be going in for a doctor's visit outside of the hospital. It doesn't matter. Anything to deal with doctor. It also has durable equipment in there. Any of that, that's what the Part B is covered. Now, there is a premium for Part B, and it's taken out of your Social Security check. And if you're not drawing Social Security, then, of course, the Part B, they will bill you on a quarterly basis. Now, Part B is optional. You don't have to take it. But if you don't take Part B and you are outside of that window that we're going to go through in a few minutes, then there's a 10% penalty for every 12 months period that you're eligible and you did not enroll. And you pay for that penalty as long as you are on Part B. Now, there are limited exceptions. The biggest exception that people, I don't care how many times I go through this, they go, oh, I'm turning 65. I got to go down to turn my Medicare on. Well, you don't. If you are employed and you have 20 employees at the firm that you're working for, then your group insurance is your option. So long as you have group coverage, that obviously covers the hospitalization, the doctor, the medication, then that's what we call credible coverage. You can be 90 years old and still working and never turn your Medicare on until you decide to leave that employment, and then you need the Medicare to cover your hospital and doctor. So don't think that you hear this all the time. Well, don't forget you're 65. Oh, my God, you got to go turn your Medicare on. Yeah, there's some exceptions to that. If you're working, do the side-by-side comparison. Find out if the group policy that you have now is comparable to Medicare. And if Medicare is a better option, well, there's nothing holding you to that group plan. You can then switch when you turn 65 during that open window that I'm going to go through with you. You can turn that on so the month that you turn 65, you'll have everything in place, and it would start the first day of the month that you turn 65. Now, the initial enrollment period, which we call the IEP, is for 7 months. So it's the 3 months before eligibility, 3 eligibility afterwards, and the month after. So I'll give you an example. Let's assume that you're going to turn 65 in April. Okay, January would start your IEP. So January, February, March, that's 3 months before, the month of, which is April, and then May, June, and July. So your initial enrollment in that window would disappear on July 31st. If you did not have your Medicare turned on during this period and you don't have any credible coverage and you're turning 65, or let's say you are leaving employment and you find out that the insurance that they have in your group is not as good as Medicare, then you want to make those decisions and turn that on during that IEP initial enrollment into Medicare. Now let's talk about what Part B is. Remember, I told you it's anything medical, anything to do with the doctor, the medical durable equipment, the ambulance, any of that is Part B. Okay, so if you missed that initial enrollment period that I just talked about, and for some reason you slept through that 7 months and you didn't enroll into Medicare and you needed to, well, then there's a general enrollment period that starts in January, goes through March of each year. The coverage will be effective the month after you sign up. Okay, so the annual deductible for Medicare, this is not a typo, is $283. So on Medicare, you will pay the first $283 for your Medicare in 2026. Then it has a co-insurance of 80-20. Medicare picks up 80%, and you're responsible for that 20%. And so that 20% is for anything that is medically approved by Medicare expenses. Okay, and also you would need a prescription drug plan. So we're going to go, assuming that you're looking at it as supplement, then you would have to have that prescription drug plan. Now, if you did, you get that through a standalone prescription drug plan, or if you were going through a Medicare Advantage plan, which they call an MAPD, that prescription drug plan is included with that. So we're going to go through that now. It's just, so what is Part D? Okay, who's eligible? Well, if you're enrolled into Medicare Part A and or B, permanently reside in your service area. That just means, your zip code and the state that you're in have certain prescription drug plans that you can enroll into. So if you live in Elgin, you can't call up a drug plan in Florida and enroll into that one because it goes by zip codes, okay? Now, some people are going to qualify for both Medicare and Medicaid, and those people we call dual eligible. And people can choose to enroll. There's a higher premium for the people that do not. And that higher premium is if you miss that initial enrollment into Medicare, and then, of course, you've got into Part D, then there is an expense if you miss that enrollment date. And that's 1% of the average for Medicare Part D drug plan, and then you would pay that for as long as you were on Part D. I want to talk a little bit about, you probably heard about this and about the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay, it's signed into law in August of 2022, and it capped the out-of-pocket medication Part D costs at $2,000 starting in 2025. 2026, it went up to $2,100. So what this means basically is if you have $2,100 in prescription drug costs, once you hit that window, then you wouldn't have to pay any additional fees thereafter. There'd be no charge for any of your medications. So years ago, before 2022, I had some clients that were paying $5,000 and $6,000 a month for its medications. They were on some heavy-duty stuff, and it was very expensive for them. When this Inflation Reduction Act passed in 2022 and went into effect in 2025, it was really a life-saving for some of the clients out there that was taking a lot of medications. And especially if they're taking a lot of insulins and stuff like that, there's been some additional reduction costs in those areas. So it was a good program that they introduced. And in 2026, it went up to $2,100. Well, let's talk about Medicare supplement insurance, okay? Medicare supplement insurance, there's more than 50 carriers in the state of Illinois alone with the exact same plan. They're offered by the insurance companies under the strict guidelines of Medicare, okay? all Medicare supplement plans with the same letter category have identical standardized coverage. Let me give you a scenario that'll help you out a little bit. Medicare makes the supplements. They give them to the insurance companies to sell. So a good example is, let's say Medicare supplements is the same as a Coke. You can pick up a can of Coke in any drugstore, grocery store, whatever. They're not in the back room making that Coca-Cola, are they? It's delivered by the Coca-Cola company to all these different outlets. Well, Medicare is the same way. So Medicare makes the supplements and then gives them to all these companies to sell. So if it's a Plan G, which is the most comprehensive plan that's available now in Medicare, or Plan N, which is one that has some co-pays attached to it, let's say that Plan G is Coke and Plan N is Sprite, okay? So they're available at any one of the grocery stores, gas stations, drug stores, and it's delivered to them by the Coca-Cola company. And then what is the difference? Well, the difference is the pricing. Not all companies or insurance or drug stores or grocery stores price their Coca-Cola or their Sprite the same. Same thing with Medicare supplements. So the only difference in a Plan G that you'd get from any of the companies would be the pricing between each one of those companies. And they do vary depending on what company that you're talking to. So that you know that there is no difference in a Plan G. So if you get an agent that says, oh, no, our Plan G is the best Plan G out there, ours is much better coverage. We have better things than our Plan G. Well, that's not true because Medicare makes that plan. The insurance companies doesn't make the plan. They just sell it for Medicare. So a Plan G is the same regardless where you buy it. The only difference is going to be that monthly premium. And how do you find out what the monthly premium is? Well, that's my job. We just basically keep track of what companies are available. We're brokers, so we carry every insurance company in our area that's available. And then we have the access to them from any one of the plans. Now, there's 3 plans that are available. The 2 plans that are available you're going to see is Plan G and Plan N. Now, Plan G covers everything except for that annual deductible, which we already know now. The annual deductible is, let me go back here. Okay, the annual deductible. I got my case. Okay, annual deductible, is $283. So we know what the annual deductible is. And Plan G, the only thing that you would pay besides your monthly premium would be that $283. So go into the hospital, the doctor, ambulance calls, it doesn't matter. Once you pay that $283, you could run up $1 million claim, and you would have nothing else to pay but that $283 besides your monthly premium.
Hey, Danny, it looks like we have a caller.
Okay, great. So just go ahead and put them on, and I'll give them a talk to.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Yes, this is Danny. How can I help you?
Okay, they weren't answering, so I dropped them.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right, we'll get back to where I'm lost at. Here we go. Now we're talking about Medicare supplements. So the Plan G is the most comprehensive out there now, and it's a $283 annual deductible. You can run up $1 million claim besides your monthly premium. That $283 is all you would pay. Okay, and that's pretty comprehensive plan. Another one is Plan N. Plan N came out in 2010, and it has some co-pays attached to it. So give you an example. If you go see any doctor, you would never pay more than $20 Could be a specialist, could be a GP doctor, your general practitioner. It doesn't matter. You would pay no more than $20 for that visit. If you went into the emergency room, you would pay $50 for that visit. And, of course, if you got enrolled into the hospital, then, of course, they waive that $50 charge for that emergency room charge. Then there's another charge here, is that deductible that you have in Plan Z, $283. You're responsible for that. Then they have another one. It's called a Plan B extra charge. Well, when do you normally see that? Well, that would be, let's say you had a surgeon that you researched and you decided, well, this guy, I want him to do my knee replacement, but he goes, well, I'm not part of the Medicare program, but I accept Medicare assignment. Well, he's allowed to charge you a 15% surcharge, and there's no limit to that surcharge. So that surcharge you would have to cover, and there is no limit to it. So there's no cap on it. But those are the three charges that you would have on Plan N. Now, do we see a lot of that excess charge? No. Let's say the Medicare had a $500 charge for that doctor, for the surgeon, and you'd pay 15%. So $75. It's not that much. Not that big of a deal, okay? So I wouldn't lose any sleep over that because we don't see it that often. The other plan that's available for people that were enrolled into Medicare before 2020. So after 2020, this Plan F was no longer available to you. And let me tell you right now, if there's anybody out there listening to me that has a Plan F, you don't want that. Here's the reason. No new people was added to that plan since 2020. Now, what has happened to those plans? They have quadrupled in pricing because there's no longer any younger people in that plan. So what happens when you get older? You tend to use that hospitalization and the doctors and everything more often than before. Good examples myself. I didn't use it any time until after I turned 70, and then I started using it. So that's kind of what happened. So the cost in Plan F has gone up considerably. So if you're out there and you are on Plan F, my recommendation is to call, let's schedule an appointment, and let's go to see what's out there for you to switch you to something that would be less expensive. That's in my cue. It is time for our half-hour break. I'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll go ahead and finish up because I need to talk about the Medicare Advantage plans next. Thank you, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Hey, I've been thinking about replacing my windows, but I have no idea where to start. Isn't it a huge hassle?
Not with Window Concepts. We make the whole process simple, from your first consultation to professional installation.
Really? I always thought it would take forever and cost a fortune.
Actually, we offer premium, energy-efficient windows at affordable prices and even flexible financing options, including 0% for 18 months.
Okay, well, that definitely helps. But what about quality?
We've been a family-owned business for over 40 years, and we take pride in expert craftsmanship and honest service. Plus, our windows are designed to improve comfort and lower your energy bills.
So you handle everything?
Everything. We start with a free consultation, give you a custom quote, and then install your windows with precision and care.
That sounds easy.
It is. Window Concepts, we keep it simple, no gimmicks, just great windows and great service.
All right, I'm in. How do I get started?
Call Window Concepts today for your free quote, and let's turn your dream windows into reality. Call 847-621-2680.
Mental health challenges can affect people at any age, including older adults. At St. Joseph Hospital in Elgin, we provide compassionate inpatient mental health care designed specifically for seniors, including support for depression, anxiety, and cognitive changes. No one has to face these challenges alone. Learn more at stjosephjelgin.com. St. Joseph Hospital, caring for our communities for 125 years.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Pro tip: the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check with the BBB first, because better businesses are honest and commit to High Ethical Standards Bureau. That's why they're better. Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Elgin isn't just a city. It's a community built on connection, innovation, and opportunity. And at the heart of it all is the Elgin Chamber of Commerce. For over a century, the Elgin Chamber has helped local businesses grow, connecting entrepreneurs, advocating for progress, and inspiring the leaders of tomorrow. Whether you're a new business just starting out or an established company looking to expand, the Elgin Chamber is your partner for success. Join a powerful network of leaders making a difference in our community every day. Together, we're shaping the future of Elgin, one connection at a time. Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce, where business and community grow together. Call now, 847-741-5660, or go to info@elginchamber.com. Contact Carol Gieske.
And welcome back, folks, to Medicare Made ABCDEasy. I've got Danny here on the phone lines with us, and we're ready to get back into it.
Okay, sounds great. I was in the middle of talking about Medicare supplements, but a little bit of bookkeeping. If you have any questions, you want to call me at the radio station this morning is 847-931-1410. Anything Medicare, just give me a call, and I know I can answer it for you. After all, I have got about 15 years experience in Medicare, and between Julianne, Eric, and myself, we've got over 35 years of experience, in almost 40 really, in Medicare. So there's nothing that we don't know. Matter of fact, if you have a question and you call us, we're going to be right 100% of the time. Okay, let's talk about reservation line, 630-320-6906. That's our reservation line that you can schedule an appointment with either Julianne, Eric, or myself. Or the best way is to go to ddginsurance.com, and you basically can schedule an appointment right online if you'd like. But there isn't any workshops coming up this month because we just completed a complete series of workshops, and we'll be going back on live on those next month. Okay, I was talking about Medicare insurance, and I'm going to just do a little bit of coverage on that. The Medicare insurance through a Medicare supplement plan is your most comprehensive plan out there. The reason being is there is not in a Medicare supplement. There are no networks. You're strictly on Medicare. So if you have a Medicare supplement, you don't have to get pre-approval from the doctors. All you just have to do is call them up. Do you take Medicare? They say, yes, I do. Then you're good to go, because Medicare supplements is connected to your Medicare insurance. So by the time you have your Medicare and your supplement that is connected together, they are a pretty comprehensive plan. Again, on the Medicare supplements, people that are traveling between Elgin in Florida or Tennessee or Arizona in the cold winter months, the Medicare supplement's going to be your go-to, because you can go to any doctor, any hospital in the United States that takes Medicare. So that pretty much opens up everything to you. Okay, unlike when we get through here, we'll talk about supplements or Advantage plans. You're limited. Now, the biggest downfall with the Medicare supplements is the monthly premiums is higher. And we've seen those go up this year especially more than we have in the past. But it's still a good buy, because in the Medicare supplement, Medicare is the one that makes the decision. So it's basically anything that's medically necessary is going to get approved. And it's much simpler, much faster to get an approval in a Medicare supplement than with original Medicare than it is going to the Medicare Advantage plans. So, and people that are, obviously, as you get older, you start using your Medicare dollars more, because, the good rule of thumb is you use 90% of your Medicare dollars during the last 10 or 20 years of your life, because that's where all the Medicare and the doctors and everything is being used. So just keep that in mind when you're making that decision, when you're moving on to Medicare. The decision that you make in Medicare when you move on for the first time, that decision is really important. And it's a decision that you're going to have to make between a Medicare supplement and an Advantage plan. And it's like I tell everybody that sits across my desk, there is no right or wrong. Everybody has their own preferences. So whether you choose a Medicare supplement or an Advantage plan, that is a personal decision of yours. My job is to point out the differences between the two and answer any questions that you have. But the final decision is actually going to be you. That's your decision to make. So now let's move on and let's talk about Medicare Advantage plans. Well, how do you choose between the two? Because the Advantage plans are totally different than the supplements. Well, we like to put them on side by side together. So on the Medicare supplement side, all doctors that accept Medicare, any doctor, hospital in the United States that accept Medicare, that's pretty simple. And because Plan G is the most comprehensive plan, we'll use that in our example. Okay. Now, on the Advantage side, you're going to be looking at an HMO or a PPO. Those are the two different networks that you're going to see. Those are about the only two that we have in our Elgin area. Now, networks, the doctors are in a network and the hospitals are in networks. Now, the difference between the HMO and the PPO, well, the HMO is a much smaller network, and there's fewer doctors in it, but you're not allowed to go outside of the network. So if you have an HMO, you cannot go outside of the network because you do not have any coverage. So I'll remind you, if you are a person that travels outside in the winter to Arizona, Texas, or Florida, that HMO is not going to be your friend, because you will have coverage for emergencies only, but that's it. because then once you get stabilized, you got to go back to your hospital that's in your network. It's going to be a little difficult if you have that emergency down in Florida and you live in Elgin, and now you have to change hospitals. So that HMO is not going to be your friend, obviously, if you travel, if you're a snowbird in the winter. Then that brings us to the PPO. Okay, a PPO, it is available, has in-network and out-of-network services. So that one is a little bit easier. So if you're going to travel outside of go to any place other than your local network. So let's say you're in Elgin and you have and you go to a doctor in Rockford. You're outside of network, but you still have that option because in a PPO you can use outside of network. The differences are, of course, in the cost factor, because co-pays in an Advantage plan are shared expense plans. If you stay in network, okay, then the doctor charges are less expensive. If you go outside of network, that's where we see a lot of these charges are actually double in cost for you. So obviously, you want to focus on staying in network in the PPO, but it still does allow you. Give you an example. Let's say all your doctors, you're choosing a PPO, and you find out that all your doctors except for one of them are in network. Well, it's not that bad if you have to spend out of network for one specialist and it costs you a little bit more to get that coverage, but at least you can get that doctor that you wanted. So that's why they have that set up that way. There is no deductibles on the Advantage plans, whereas in the supplement there is that deductible. It's an annual deductible. It's not that expensive. But in the Advantage plans, there are not any deductibles, but it goes by copays. And it's out of pocket. So give you an example. If you have an Advantage plan and you have a PPO or an HMO, and you go to a doctor, usually other than your PCP doctor, then there could be a copay. A specialist, maybe there'd be a $40 copay every time you see that specialist. So there are copays that are connected with the Advantage side. And keep in mind that these are copay share expense plans. So there'll be a copay if you have any diagnostic ran. There'd be a copay if you say you had an MRI. There'd be a copay for that MRI. Where we see a lot of copays in the Advantage side, unfortunately, if you get diagnosed with cancer, and I'm just using this one example because we see that more often, there's a 20% copay on any of the services. For instance, if you have radiation or chemotherapy, there can be a 20% copay for every time you have that service done. So those copays can add up. And obviously, some of these cancer treatments can go on for a number of months, sometimes a year or more. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the Advantage plan, because of those copays. They can be expensive when you start adding them up. Luckily, though, in all the Advantage plans and the HMOs and the PPOs, there's a maximum. So once you have all those copays and you hit that maximum out of pocket, then there is no additional charges. So obviously, then the HMOs, the maximum out of pocket is lower, and the PPOs, they are higher. And keep in mind, those copays will double on a PPO if you're out of network. So you want to keep that in mind. So when you're choosing a PPO or an HMO, the HMO, you got to stay in network. The PPO, you don't. You just have to pay a higher copay. Now, on the Advantage supplement, there is that Part D deductible, but there is no copays. Once you cover your deductible, there is no additional charge other than your monthly premium. So who chooses? Of course, the prescription drug plan is added on the supplement side. and the Advantage side has the copay, the prescription drug plan included. So who chooses the Medicare supplement? Well, anybody that is seeing doctors on a regular basis, you want to choose a supplement, especially if you're in open enrollment and you can make that decision for a supplement or an Advantage plan. You can use any doctor, any hospital in the United States. There are no copays. And the big thing is there's no referrals required. And the Advantage side, the most popular reason is a lower or no monthly premium. It's a shared expense plan, so you do have to pay the copays for all of your services that you use. Doctors and hospitals are on networks. Big thing. Some people are that are used to having the freedom of choice. You're going to find that is more restricted than those Advantage plans. The one thing that we see about the Advantage plan that is kind of a issue that clients will have. Give you an example. Let's say you enroll into that Advantage plan and you have all your doctors all set, and then in the middle of the year, they drop a network, and so you have to choose all new doctors until the upcoming enrollment period, the annual enrollment period. That doesn't happen that often, but we have seen that before. Or we have issues where the plan drops a doctor group, and you have to then choose some different doctors. So that does happen, not always, but we have seen that a little bit more in the last few years than we have in the past years. Prescription benefits are included, and the simplicity of use on the Advantage plan. When I say the simplicity of use, you don't have to have 3 different cards: your Medicare card, your supplement card, and your prescription drug card. You just have the one card. The biggest downfall, I would say, with the Advantage plans is the fact that you do have to get your doctors in order. It didn't happen for years ago where you'd sign up in an Advantage plan and you'd stay on that Advantage plans for a couple, 3 years, no changes. But in today's market, there's been a lot of changes in those Advantage plans from one year to the next. So it is very important, and this is for Advantage plans, is when you start looking at the election period. So there's a Medicare Advantage plan election period, enrollment into an MA and prescription drug plan only during valid election periods. So if you're going to make any changes in your supplement or Advantage plan, our prescription drug plan, it has to be done during the annual election period. Opens period is October 15th through December 7th with an effective date of January 1. So in December 8th, you call me up and say, well, Danny, I want to change my drug plan. Well, unfortunately, you missed that window. So you're going to have to stay on that same drug plan for the upcoming year, because the only time you can make that change in the Advantage plan and the drug plan, October 15th through December 7th. Now, the Advantage has an additional, if there was a mistake made, and that's what I call it. But it's an Advantage, Medicare Advantage open enrollment period that is January 1 through March 31st. The reason why they do that is because some of the networks out there that are choosing doctors and network groups, a lot of times they don't have them nailed down and under contract by the December 7th deadline. So a lot of times, we enroll them into their particular MAPD plan, and come to find out their doctors aren't in it because the contract wasn't signed yet. Well, that's the reason why they have that Medicare Advantage open enrollment period, January 1 through March 31st. You can disenroll from your current MAPD and go back to original Medicare, Part A and B, or you can select a different Advantage plan. and make that change. So if you make that change in January, it would go into effect February 1st. If you make it in February, it would be March 1st. Make it in March, it would be April 1st. But after that March 31st, there are no more changes that can be made. Of course, there's always special enrollment periods. I'll give you an example. So live in Elgin and you move to Rockford. Well, you're outside of network. So that's what we call moving from area. So you would have an SEP, a special enrollment period. And the only time you can make these changes is during these SEPs, especially on the supplement side. But anytime, or if you live in Elgin and you move to Florida, that's a whole different network down there. And so you would have to enroll into either 30 days before you leave or 60 days once you get to your new destination. Make sure that you enroll into the network that services that particular area. Or there's another one is if you lose coverage through no fault of your own. The insurance company all of a sudden decides they're not going to service your area anymore. So then you lost coverage. Then that would also be a special enrollment plan that you can choose any service that you want, go back to original Medicare, pick out a supplement, or choose an MAPD that's going to be available in that new network. So those are your options for Medicare supplements and Advantage plans. And the reason why I like to go over those is because we've seen those issues come up a lot during this last enrollment period, because a lot of the Advantage plans were not getting their contracts signed in time. So we would get a person lined up. I have to take a drink here. Get a person lined up for their MAPD and think everything's all set, and then all of a sudden we find out that the contract wasn't signed. So then we would have to go through the whole procedure all over again in January and maybe move them to a different network because their doctors weren't signed into that network. Now, that hadn't happened a few years ago, but boy, this last year we've seen it more than we ever have in the past. And it's just more work. We have also noticed that there's fewer and fewer PPOs being offered. There are more HMOs being offered. The doctor networks are not as large as they used to be. So you would have all 5 teaching hospitals in one network. We don't see that much anymore. So the networks are much smaller, and we're seeing more and more HMOs being offered than we do see PPOs. So there's kind of a trade-off on each one. On the Advantage side, we're seeing a little bit of changes as far as the HMOs being more popular, more offerings in the HMO than the PPO. And the Medicare supplement side, we're seeing the rates, the premiums are going up. And I know that I get calls from clients, oh my God, I just got my annual review contract for your supplement. And my premium went up $30, $40 a month or whatever it is. Well, we can still check out there to see if there's another company that has that coverage for you. Let's say that Plan G for you, and see if we can't get it cheaper for you. But remember, you're outside of your initial enrollment into Medicare. So at that point, they can ask you health questions, and they can say to you, no, thank you. You have an ailment that we don't cover. So you can always stay with the company that you're with, pay the little higher premium, or we can check around to see if we can find a company that would cover what the cost that you would have and that you'd be happy with. But those are the big differences between them. Obviously, I tell all my clients, if you're getting a rate increase, give me a chance to find something out there that's going to be cheaper for you, because all companies have different pricing. You know, one company may have a large price increase and another company may not have. It depends on their experience level. So, don't think that you can't make those changes and hunt for something less expensive. If you're in good health, you can change that Medicare supplement every month if you wanted. There's no lock-in. There's no annual renewal. There's nothing like that, because on the supplements, you're not affected by that annual enrollment October 15th through December 7th, because that's only for Advantage plans and prescription drug plans only. On the supplements, you usually get a letter saying this is your anniversary and your new rates are going to be this, and it comes into effect in 60 days. That gives you that window to shop around to find out if there's something else out there that is less expensive. And then sometimes, we there's just really not anything less expensive. So then you can choose. Maybe you want to choose the plan in where you have the co-pays. It reduces your monthly premium considerably. So those are some of the options that people do choose. So there's always something out there. And then if you have health issues and there is one company out there that does not ask any health questions, and that, of course, it's going to be a little more expensive. And we'll see this sometimes when people are on that Advantage plan and they find out that the cost for these co-pays and the fact that you have to get the prior approvals for everything, and it's taking 60 or 90 days to get a knee replacement or even get a schedule. And so you say, I guess I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and go with the supplement. And even though you have some health issues, we can still get you that supplement. There's one company out there that is a little more expensive, but they don't ask any health questions. And when it comes to that point in time in your life when, you need to make that decision, you need to bite that bullet and maybe go with that Advantage plan, off that Advantage plan and into that supplement. Just keep in mind that there is something out there available to you. I think we have... we're getting close to the end of our workshop, radio workshop for, this is, it's June. So the next month will be July. First Tuesday of the month in July, we'll be back here, and we should have some updated workshops that are available at our local radio, we do those pretty much in the libraries. But with that, I want to thank you for listening, and look forward to seeing you in July. This is going to be a vacation month for me, but Julianne will probably be here doing the show in July next month. With that, thank you. Have a great week.